Dot keeps falling, and I think it's something that we need to talk about now. And we'll start by looking at the daily chart right here. Now, well, let me just say this. When Dot was in this area right here about a week and a half ago, I was calling for it to go lower. The reason I was calling for it to go lower is for a couple of reasons. One was that we had this downtrend that we had been seeing in Dot and across other coins since the end of December, with a high here, a low here, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high, which is the definition of a downtrend. And that downtrend was easily visible by this downtrend line on the top of the highs. So that's the first reason. The second reason was we had entered this level of support right here between 7.3 and 7.6, and we were kind of chopping around in it. And as we were chopping, it just gave me no indication that there was any upward movement. It seemed like all of the pressure in the crypto markets was pushing down, even in Bitcoin. Well, not even in Bitcoin, especially in Bitcoin, which is what I think is causing this downward trend to continue right now. Let's look at this back on the 13th through the 17th of January on Bitcoin. We were right here. Okay. So Bitcoin had been in this upward rising channel here since the beginning of December, with grinding out slightly higher highs and higher lows indicated by this rising channel here. But then after the ETFs were approved back in about January 10th, 11th, and we spiked higher, Bitcoin had been giving up its gains quite a bit, down to the tune of about a 9 to 10% fall over a couple of days. And it was resting down here at the bottom of this upward rising channel. At that point, I was saying things like I expected us to see 40,000 in Bitcoin, just because it seemed like there was so much downward pressure. The positive euphoria of this rise that we had seen since October was kind of wearing off after the ETFs were approved, which we kind of supposed they would be. But after they were, we had this run up, and then there was quite a bit of profit taking and moving monies around and whatnot. And it just seemed like after this run up and the positive news of the ETF approvals, that we were going to start going through a correction or a pullback or whatnot. And that's what we did. So this is what I saw on Bitcoin. I expected us to break this channel and go down to 40,000. We haven't quite hit 40,000, but we come awful close several times, and that is what we're seeing reflected in the market of DOT right now. Here's where we're in Bitcoin. The continuous downward pressure, I did believe, was going to take us down to this level right here of 6.3 to 6.6. I mentioned that on several of the videos for DOT. If you go back and watch those over the last few days and weeks, and you'll see we have gone into that level now. Do not think, however, that this is a victory lap video. I do not want to see DOT fall. I want to see DOT go up. I do not want to see Bitcoin fall. I want it to go up. I do not want to see my coins fall or crypto fall. I want them to go up. However, I have to look at the reality of what's going on in the crypto market right now. And it's kind of like we as a group have experienced this fantastic run up in crypto since October. We had all these gains, and once the ETFs were approved, we're kind of looking around at each other like, now what? There's no positive momentum. There's not really negative momentum. There's just not positive momentum. There's nothing to look forward to. And I think that's one reason we're seeing this pullback on prices in crypto altogether. Just in case you think DOT is the only one, let's be very clear that it's not. Many of these altcoins look just like DOT. Here's ADA. You see the downtrend. You see it as art. Here's where it was on the 13th to 17th of January. It has broken VET downtrend. It has entered its next level. Solana, even one of the golden coins of the last run up. Look at that downtrend. It has, for the first time today, entered this level of 75 to 86 that I have marked. So DOT is not the only one. I still expect more pressure in DOT. Okay, I do. Bitcoin still hasn't actually broken 40,000, and I do believe it's going to break 40,000. I believe we are going to enter this 38 to 40,000 range here over the next few days / weeks. And when that happens, DOT very well could continue to fall, and we may actually be looking at this level here soon, which would be something like that. Let me go back and zoom out here. Yeah, it'll be something like that, something to the top of here. Maybe something like that. Generally, I don't know exactly where it'll be, but it could very well be something like this, where we break out below the 6.3 and go into this 5.5 to 6.3 range. Here's what has to happen for us not to do that. Of course, we could just range. We could bounce back and forth and just do this right here. And that's very possible. I mean, that could happen. We could fall lower. I don't expect huge falls, but we could still kind of continue to drift lower. But before we can make any higher prices, two things have to happen now based on this structure for DOT. First, we have to break this trend line. We must. We already kind of have a steeper trend line if you look at it here. That's even a steeper trend line there. So you could say there's 2 or 3 things. First, we need to break this trend line. Then we need to break this trend line. And before you're going to make any higher highs, you have to overcome the previous resistance support that turns into resistance. So we'll have to break out of this trend line, and get back above 7.6 and stay there for a bit. And there's just no momentum, no visible momentum in the market for that move right now. But that's what's got to happen. Until then, there's downward pressure. Does that mean we'll continue to move down? Well, that's kind of what downward pressure means, but it doesn't mean necessarily we'll move down. It just means that there is heavy pressure on DOT to be pushed down further, and we'll just have to find out, can it resist? Can it give us a bounce back up to this trend line, maybe even to this level, and then see what happens? Only time will tell. But I do believe Bitcoin's going to drag us down below 40,000, and that's going to continue to affect DOT. So that's what I see on DOT right now. The things that have to happen for positive moves up: break this trend line, get back above 7.6. And until then, downward pressure. Be careful. If you like DOT, you're going to have some good opportunities to pick up more in the next few days / weeks, I believe. Where did DOT come from, by the way, in October? 3? Yeah, so 3, and we're at 6. So you're still double what you were in October. Almost double what you were in October, so that's good. But goodness, now I see crypto's just giving up. Bitcoin seems to be holding up better than a lot. It's only given up about 10 to 12% since its highs. And no, it's 20%. So that's still, I mean, we're all falling. We're all falling. Play it level to level right now. Let's just keep an eye on the market, and I'll watch with you to find out when we're going to find the next base in crypto. All right, y'all be careful out there. Take care.